Most people reveal too much too soon. But wise people understand that not every truth needs an audience. The wrong people do not need much to control you. They only need what you gave them. That is why privacy is not secrecy. It is strength. It is the discipline of protecting what is sacred before it becomes leverage in someone else's hands. Today we are exposing 7 things you should never tell anyone if you want more peace, more power, and more control over your life. Because what feels harmless today can be used against you tomorrow. Most people never realize how much power they leak when they speak without discernment. In a world that rewards oversharing, silence becomes a quiet advantage. The first 2 things you should never tell anyone are your next move and your weak spots. Strategy versus exposure. Self-respect versus approval. When you tell people your plans too early, you give them time to doubt you, distract you, or even sabotage what you are building. And when you tell the wrong people your weaknesses, you hand them a handle they can pull whenever they want to control your mood or your confidence. Most people never realize how expensive honesty becomes when it is placed in the wrong hands. Stoicism teaches that some things are meant to be built in silence first, then revealed through results. The hidden cost of talking too soon is that your future becomes something other people can interfere with before it is ready. Protect the process. Protect the weak points. And the next things to keep private are even more dangerous when exposed. Your money and your relationship life. The next 2 things you should never tell anyone are your money story and your relationship problems. Abundance versus envy. Intimacy versus public theater. Money is one of the fastest ways people compare, judge, or quietly resent you. Once they know your numbers, they start treating you differently. The same is true for relationship problems. What should stay between 2 people often becomes gossip, interference, or distorted advice when it is shared too widely. Most people never realize how quickly private struggles become public entertainment. Stoicism teaches that dignity is protected by restraint, not by explaining everything to everyone. The hidden cost of oversharing here is simple. Your peace gets replaced by other people's opinions. And once that happens, your life stops feeling private. Protect what is personal. Protect what is still healing. And the next pair of things to keep private are your fears and your boundaries. The next 2 things you should never tell anyone are your fears and your boundaries too early. Courage versus exposure. Respect versus testing. When the wrong people know what scares you, they know exactly where to push. And when people hear your boundaries before they respect your character, they often test them just to see how serious you are. Most people never realize that fear becomes a weakness in the hands of the careless, and boundaries become targets in the hands of the disrespectful. Stoicism teaches that strength is shown through what you do, not through how much you announce. The hidden cost of revealing your triggers too freely is that your emotions become easier to manipulate. And the hidden cost of broadcasting your limits too early is that people start measuring how far they can go. Protect your inner terrain. And the final private matter is the one most people rush to expose, their healing and reinvention process. The final thing you should never tell anyone is your healing process and your reinvention plan too early. Performance versus transformation. Intention versus validation. When you are changing, you are still vulnerable. And vulnerable things should be protected, not performed for attention. Most people cheer for the version of you that talks about change, but they quietly doubt the version of you that is actually becoming it. Stoicism teaches that inner growth is sacred while it is still forming. The hidden cost of announcing your rebirth too early is that you invite pressure before your foundations are stable. People start asking for updates, expecting proof, or rushing a process they do not understand. But the strongest changes are often the quietest. Healing is not weaker when it is private. It becomes stronger because it is protected. All 7 of these things have one thing in common. Oversharing hands away leverage, focus, and peace. Noise versus power. Performance versus authenticity. Most people never realize that telling too much can slowly turn their life into something other people feel entitled to comment on, judge, or interfere with. That is the hidden cost of living too publicly. Your mind becomes a community project. Stoicism teaches the opposite. Private discipline creates public strength. And the quiet person often has the most control because they are not leaking their life in every direction. Privacy is not hiding. It is preserving. It protects momentum, reduces emotional noise, and keeps your identity from being shaped by outside voices. When you stop telling everyone everything, you start keeping more of yourself. And the person who protects their privacy becomes harder to manipulate and easier to respect. The goal is not to become secretive. It is to become selective, steady, and hard to shake. A person who keeps the right things private becomes rarer, and rarity creates respect. These 7 things are not about fear. They are about self-command. The wise person does not tell everyone what they are building, what they fear, what they earn, or what they are healing. They move in silence until the results speak for them. That is how they protect momentum, peace, and identity all at once. Remember this: what you keep private keeps you powerful. If this spoke to you, comment which thing you need to protect most. Subscribe for more Stoic wisdom, and keep building the kind of inner strength that cannot be controlled by the wrong people.